On the third night after the bodies were found, the cotton swab test results from the girl's lower body came back. We got the most crucial DNA, but disappointingly, the DNA confirmed that none of the people we were currently investigating who had a grudge with Li Tong's father were that person. The rain in Baigua village never stopped. The suspect range was too small to yield any results, so we had to expand it. We put our hopes back on the surveillance. That day, the comrade who checked the surveillance called us over and said there was something strange. He saw a familiar person at a village entrance 3 kilometers away from Baigua village. We swarmed to the surveillance room and found that the familiar person he was talking about was Wu Qian. The last eyewitness before the 2 children disappeared. We all had an impression of this little girl. Her home was 3 kilometers away from this village, not too close or too far. We had been checking the videos of the nearby villages and towns for a while, and she was indeed a stranger to this village. I called the village committee and they told us categorically that Wu's family had no relatives or friends there, because their family situation was not good, and their character was mediocre. They rarely interacted with them in the village, let alone outside the village. I asked my colleagues to pull out all the videos of the same period and take a look. The rural surveillance was good for a while and bad for a while. There was no surveillance before and after the incident. We could only see that about half a month before the incident, Wu Qian would come to this village from time to time. The day after we asked her, she came again. Comparing the 2 videos, it was obvious that she was in a good mood when she came before, jumping around, and holding snacks in her hand when she returned, but the time after the incident was very strange, looking around, walking fast, and feeling obviously panicked. I felt a little bit wrong. I remembered the time we went to the school to find Wu Qian. She had a small cut on her face. I casually asked her, she said she fell. It was not realistic to lie in front of the forensic doctor. The cut was obviously whipped by a small branch. I didn't think that this lie might be related to the case. This girl was only 12 years old, she was at home on the night the 2 children disappeared, and she went to school the next day. She had no time and space to commit the crime. Until I added this surveillance, it seemed a bit wrong. This intuition was nothing in the sea of information, but now the suspect range was getting smaller and smaller. I decided to take a shot and go to that village to take a look. Seeing Wu Qian's photo, the village secretary frowned. He said he had an impression of this girl, because he had seen her in the village a few times, and he felt strange. She always walked to the east of the village, where she had no relatives, and even no houses. Maybe she went up the mountain to pick things. Going up the mountain to pick things seemed to make sense. I still didn't want to let go of that little doubt, and asked the village committee if they could take us to the east of the village. This village was more remote than Baigua village, and the houses inside became older and sparser as we walked east. The village head said that there were only 5 or 6 people living here, all of whom were old people who refused to move. The village head said that Wu Qian might have gone up the mountain to pick things, so I looked around for a way up the mountain. As I looked, I found a large bamboo forest at the foot of the mountain, and there seemed to be a few houses hidden inside. I exclaimed, and asked the village head if that was a place where people lived. The village head said yes, this family lived an old man alone, named Jing Xiuquan. His wife died more than 10 years ago, and his children also went out to work. This person is honest, but his temper is a bit strange, and he rarely interacts with the villagers. As I approached, I saw that the house was a bit new. I remembered the cement on the bottom of the corpse. The village head recalled and said that the house seemed to have been repaired about 2 months ago, because the dilapidated house was almost uninhabitable, and the villagers raised money to help renovate it. As he said, the village head knocked on the door 3 times and shouted, "Old Zheng, are you at home? The government sent people to inspect, you come out and say a few words?" After about half a minute, there was no response inside, but the door slowly opened. A 50-something old man poked his head out, frowning and muttering, "What's the matter?" banging and banging. Just at that moment, I woke up with a jolt and stared at the old man in front of me. I smelled the smell of blood, human blood.